My name is Glenn DeSandre. I am an upper baritone, and I joined the chorus in January of 2013. So about almost 8 years ago.
Wonderful. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Joliet, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. It was more of a sort of truly suburban town. And now if you go back, when I go back to visit my mom, it's basically Chicago bleeds into every suburban town down to where my suburban town is. So it just feels like one big city. So it's definitely changed since I used to live there.
Interesting. So going back to the chorus, how did you find out about the chorus in the first place?
I had never sung before, but I was an instrumentalist. And I played the trombone, and I was in the Cal marching band. Happened to be the drum major when I was in college, so go Bears. And I went back to an alumni band day in the fall of 2012, and Rylan Carpena, who's also a former chorus member, was also in the Cal band, probably a couple decades after me, but let's say we were in the same class. And he's like, "Oh my God, you're gay. You should, and you're musical, and you should sing. And why don't you join the chorus?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, and I'll see how things go." And I ended up going to the Christmas concert that year, which was the SantaCon concert at Davies Symphony Hall, and I was just blown away. I was kind of expecting them to be good, but I was maybe thinking more kind of like what I sort of seen in high school or college, where off Broadway kind of thing. But it was like a professional organization with very well staged numbers, very amazing musically, and I was like, they were like maybe 3 or 4 songs in to the first half, and I leaned over to my husband and I was like, I think I need to join this group, or try to at least. And so that, I pretty much got home, found the audition link, and signed up for my audition, and did that a month later.
Nice. At what point did you start volunteering beyond singing?
I started the year after I joined the chorus. My big brother had been on the board before he departed. He moved up to Sacramento, and so his position was open in January, and he kind of wrote me in. He's like, "Hey, have you thought about being on the board?" I'm like, no, but I'm willing to jump on in. And so I started there, and then from that experience, about 6 months later, they were starting to recruit for the next board president, chorus president, and I felt like that was more at the time more my skill set, more sort of group dynamics, and sort of making sure that the chorus members were sort of had a happy experience, and their views were represented well. And so I ended up going that route instead of the board. Kind of circled back full circle at this point, but at the time I felt like the president was a better fit for me.
That makes sense. So walk me a little bit through what a chorus president does, because I'm sure that's something an audience is curious about.
Yeah, so the chorus president is elected every year. They're 1-year terms. The membership votes. And the president really is the voice of membership to the leadership team within the chorus. So we have a leadership team which is all filled with chorus members, and there's a broader leadership team which includes the artistic director, the executive director, the chairman of the board, and the president of the chorus. And so the president of the chorus also sits on the board of directors, again, to make sure that the chorus viewpoints are sort of are kept first in mind whenever the board makes a decision. The chorus members, in addition to being a family and all the important social stuff, are really the producers of our product. And we need to make sure that the membership is really having a great experience. The members pay dues, and they're sort of volunteering their time and their money to be a part of the organization, and they really need to have a voice as to the direction that the chorus takes. So the president's job really is to make sure that all happens, and to also make sure that the dynamics of the chorus stays functioning and is smooth. So making sure that they put out little fires of interpersonal dynamics, and making sure that the attendance rules are followed and all those kinds of things. But the biggest main goal of the president, or main role of the president, is to make sure that the chorus voices are heard.
Makes sense. It's really exciting that you got to do that so early.
that was one of the things I thought was really great about the chorus is that, it is like a family, and very quickly you get absorbed into the organization. And so it's not like this huge hierarchical system. I always tell my friends that are outside of the chorus that, I have friends that are 22, there are friends that are 80. I have friends in the chorus that are, professionals, that are, that are teachers, that are baristas, that we come from all walks of life. And like, we really leave our careers and everything else outside of the chorus. I mean, obviously we'll help in whatever capacity we can if people have specific areas they want to get involved in. But it's just, people are people, first of all, and that's kind of what the chorus is. And so because of that, there's not these hierarchies of, well, you need to be in the chorus this many years before you can be the president or before you get involved. You kind of just jump in, and people kind of find their niche and can help out as much or as little as they want to, which I think is amazing.
It's beautiful. And it strikes me there are very few groups outside the chorus where that is true. It's one of the special things.
Absolutely. I honestly, I haven't seen one just as much like this. I mean, I feel like, either my social interactions or sort of cocktail parties through work or whatever, the first conversation is always, what do you do? And I feel like that eventually comes up in the chorus, but it's like the 8th or 9th conversation after you've already talked about everything else. I don't know. It's great. I think it's amazing. I think if the world was more that way, and people were sort of kind of cross their normal barriers, their normal silos, I feel like a lot more could be done. Less misunderstandings would happen because people are, it's hard to hate somebody or hard to misunderstand somebody you actually know, and so that people kind of cross-pollinate that way, it really makes things better, I think.
Really well said. So looking back on your years in the chorus, what's been the most rewarding part?
I think the most rewarding part for me has been the effect the chorus has on other people's lives, and specifically when I look out at a performance, and the example I'll use is the Lavender Pen tour. We went to the South and performed at many different venues, churches and amphitheaters, and so it was a wide variety of audiences. But every single time that we were singing, the concert would start, and you would see a couple walk in together, and they would be doing the standard, I'm gay, but I don't want to be too close to my partner because I'm not sure if this is a safe space. And I think we've all kind of done that, depending on how we feel, and then so they come in, they sit down, and then the first song happens, and then you see one of the partners put the hand on the leg of the other person, and the next song they're holding hands, and then by the end of it they have arms around each other, and then they lean over and kiss each other or something. I mean, just seeing that that we were able to create that safe space where somebody from an area where they may not have that safe space normally, that's super rewarding to me, and I've seen that here in San Francisco as well. We are in a bubble, and we are accepting, but people, whether it be in their job or whether their family life or their church, they may come to our concert to kind of get that safe space as well. And I feel like it's amazing we can provide that, and hopefully getting comfortable in that safe space we create allows them to feel safe in other places, and it allows them to be more themselves elsewhere too.
That's so beautiful. I have not heard that particular story of audience reaction yet from someone, so I really appreciate you sharing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was incredible. And I at first I thought, oh, this is a fluke, and then it kept happening, and I was like, wow, this is really, really amazing.
Yeah, very cool. So let's go back in time a little bit. Tell me about what it was like for you growing up.
Yeah, so as I said, grew up in a small town outside of Chicago, and I love school. I was a nerdy kid, and that was my sort of safe space. I started having feelings that I might be gay probably when I was in 3rd grade, but I was so petrified of that possibility, and not because I come from a very religious family, or not because I was hearing negative things from my family members, but I didn't have any examples or gay role models, and so I didn't actually come out as until I was 33, and so I spent a lot of my childhood being not only in the closet with my sexuality, but also being in the closet with my personality, with who I was. Because if you're in the closet that deeply and you're so afraid of somebody finding out that you're gay or that you may be different or whatever it is, you can't ever really be your whole self, because you're always afraid that whatever you're doing, that, am I walking weird? Did I say that right? I remember sitting, I was briefly, I'm not a sporty guy, but I was briefly on the basketball team in 4th grade. And I remember, we're sitting in the bench, I was a bench kind of guy, got called it every once in a while. And I sat on the bench and I crossed my legs. And the kid next to me is like, "You can't cross your legs." I'm like, "Oh." So it's just this like feeling like you can't. So that was just an example, like, how I felt like no matter what I do, someone's watching me and I don't. So that really made me very, I don't know, it was uptight, and it was kind of a stressful time for me. And even though like I could sort of fake being sort of, "Hey, I'm fun," it was kind of just, I still had to be very careful of like how much I expressed because of that sort of fear that someone was going to find out that I was who I was.
So walk me through what changed for you, whether when you were 33 and coming out or kind of leading up to that.
Yeah. So I think you can only suppress who you are for so long, and eventually truth will out. And I think that's always true, not for coming out, for being gay or whatever it is. Our bodies, our minds aren't really equipped to keep that kind of deep of a secret for so long. You start having anxiety, or things start coming out in different ways. And I was, I gotten married to my best friend from college, and as an aside, we're still good friends. We had a rough patch through the middle of it, but we're very good friends now, and I see her probably once every 6 weeks or so. I was a resident at Stanford, and the chief resident was a gay man, and I started just becoming friends with him, and I was just feeling super stressed, and having some just that stress would come out in sort of bad interactions at work. And so I talked to him, and he's like, "Well, I can refer you to one of our counselors." And so I started talking to that person, and but my fear was so deep, and I by this point I was married, and so then I was involving another person in my coming out, and I'd created this sort of vision to what I thought, my story to the world was that I was this straight male doctor, everything was together, and the reality was I was gay. I could still be together, still have it together, but I didn't think that at the time. And, I decided it wasn't time for me. And so I went back in the closet. And it wasn't until the first year of my fellowship in neonatology that my wife and I actually were at a wedding with one of my best friends. And as the couple was saying their vows, I just started crying. And people cried at weddings, but this was like more than just a tear. This was like just sobbing. And I was like, I got it together, and then, we were supposed to go to the reception. I'm like, you just have to go. And so it was in the car. We got back to the car, and obviously it's concerning. Like, why are you so upset? And that's when I just said it. I think I'm gay. And that took a while to unravel, but yeah, it was the getting to the point where the pressure was so great, and the idea of not only living really a lie became too much, and also involving somebody else, forcing somebody else to live that lie with me. It'd be one thing if I'd said I'm gay and she said that's fine, we can still be together, we can make other arrangements, which I know some people do. That wasn't for her. She subsequently remarried, and that's great. And I wanted to, at that point, I really felt like I need to do it now. We started talking about having kids, and then it gets even more complicated. So that was the sort of the point at which I said, I need to finally be myself, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah. So if you could, go back to that moment at the wedding, maybe even while the vows are being said, and you're just starting to cry, and sort of tell yourself something from you now, what would that be?
I think I would just say, it's going to be okay. that you're going to get through this, that, I know it seems really scary right now, and I know that you think that your whole world's going to crash down, but there are people around you, and you'll find that out as you start telling people that that they still love you, they've always loved you, and there's nothing wrong with being gay. It's actually good that you're coming out, and don't be so hard on yourself, I guess.
Yeah. Walk me through how you met your husband.
My husband and I actually met, our anniversary is actually tomorrow, our 17th anniversary of being together and 12 years of being married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
We met on a blind date. My friend was at the Pilsner, actually, with his group of friends, and Pierce was there with two of his buddies who rarely went out, but he dragged them out. He said, I have to go out. I'm single. If I don't go out, I'm never going to meet anybody. And so he was lamenting being single, and my friends, Darren, Michael, and Brad, said, oh, you should meet Dr. Glenn. And Pierce was like, oh, that sounds good. And so I got this drunken voicemail from my friend who was like, oh, you got to meet Pierce. He's great. And I mean, drunken phone calls never work out right. And so I was like, oh, this is going nowhere. But the next day he sent me his email contacts, and we called each other and set up dates for that following Saturday. And we also didn't plan this very well. For our very first day, we decided, let's take a 5-mile hike. He was marriage material. The rest is history.
What have your conversations been like with kids, sort of in this chapter, whether your own family or through rhythm or anything like that?
I've been surprised. The Thanksgiving after we got married, we went back and we took a little walk down to town. Pierce his family comes from a very small town in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. So we're like, well, let's walk to town and get some candy for the kids. And so Jeffrey was probably 5 at the time, and his sister Callie was 6. And we're walking to town, and I'm walking ahead with the kids, and Pierce is behind me. And they're like, oh, we heard you and Pierce got married. I'm like, yeah, we got married a couple months ago. And they're like, well, where are your women? And I'm like, oh. And meanwhile, my mind's like, okay, am I having this conversation? Okay, yes, I am. I'm like, oh, well, Uncle Pierce and I married each other. And, some boys marry boys and some girls marry girls. And some girls marry boys, and did all the combinations. And for them, it was like, they're just like, oh, okay, that's great. And without skipping a beat, like, can we still get candy? So it's like, for kids, they have to learn the hate, I think. And to them, inherently, like, it doesn't matter who you are, like, love is love, and that's all great. And so that's been my experience with the younger kids. As kids get older, they start to have had some potentially hard experiences, and some and so whenever I had conversations with older kids, I just try to reflect on my experience and just reassure them that it may be terrible right now, and you may feel like you're alone, but just reminding them and telling them that it really does get better. And I know some people say that that's a cliche or that's trite, but I really don't think it is. I think it's, if people can tolerate things if they know there's going to be an end to it. It's when there's no known end point. But that's when your mind starts spinning, you start getting really bogged down. If you know that that's going to end at some point, then I think you can get through. So I think the message, things will get better, is super important to tell kids who are struggling with their sexuality or struggling with whatever they're struggling with.
Beautiful. Thinking back on all your time in chorus and performances in chorus, are there any particular songs that really resonate with you? I know this is a hard question. Oftentimes people don't want to pick one, but
I think the song that resonates most with me is Never Ever from Naked Man. It's a song that's just about living each moment, that no matter what the interaction is, there's never going to be the same set of circumstances that brought you together. So you're never going to have the same number of people. It's never going to be the same time of day. Like, that moment is for what it is, and to really appreciate each moment that you have, and whether it's a sad time or a happy time. Like there's parts about it that kind of make life what it is, and that sort of can give you joy, can express sorrow. And the song has been part of the chorus life for a long time, and there's just been several times where we've sung the song. When Ryan Nunez passed away, we sang it as part of our memorial before the Saturday concert, Sweet Impromptu Memorial, and it just, every time we sing it, I just feel it viscerally that it's just so important. I look around and see everyone singing, and we're all humans. We're all gonna pass away at some point, and just to really savor each moment is so important, and it just, that really resonates with me.
Is there anything else about your experience with the chorus that you'd like to talk about that we haven't covered?
I just want to give a shout out to all of the people in the chorus who've really inspired me, and there are tons of people in the chorus who are so unabashedly themselves that, like, they are, genderqueer, or they're gender fluid, or they're just very bold and brash and open, and they have the beard, and they wear the nail polish, and it's coming as someone who's been a chameleon all their lives and just blended. They've really inspired me to sort of be more out and proud and just visible. I think visibility is so important, and I'm just so inspired by so many people in the chorus that are able to do that. And a lot of them are much younger than I am, and I just think it's so cool that you can be so confident in who you are, and I just love that. And I did drag for the first time after joining the chorus, and it's because of people like the divas, or people who like Igor, that are just out there and themselves and having so much fun, and just showing that you don't have to be afraid, and you can try new things, and that's great. And so I want to thank all those people for sort of being a great inspiration to me and to everybody.